Hello, everybody, guys. Welcome back to this episode of the Transfer Portal Podcast presented by NoContextCFB. We have our Week 6 recap. I have with me today my guy Dylan, we got Lauren, and we got Emily. Emily, welcome back. I think this is your second episode. Is that correct?
It is.
All right, awesome. Welcome back. We've got a lot to dive into because three of us were at some really big games. I think both have an argument for game of the season. I know both of y'all are going to have your own argument take on that. So let's kind of just dive into it, really. We had some really big games. We spoke about, I just mentioned 2 SEC games. Well, we got one future SEC game, Red River Rivalry. Personally, I didn't really see much of this game, but because I was on my way to College Station up to Texas A&M, and when I parked my car, earlier, I knew Texas was up big in the fourth quarter. I parked my car and I see that Oklahoma just scores the game-winning touchdown, and I'm like, okay, what the hell just happened? Dylan, I am almost certain that you watched that game, so how about you take me a little bit into it? Tell us what there is to know about it.
Yeah, this was a really weird one. I was keeping an eye on it. I was out of town because I was going to a birthday party at a bowling alley, but thankfully the bowling alley had TVs, so I think when I left, it was halftime and it was, I believe, 35-20, 38-20, something like that. And then I got to the bowling alley and I believe it was 41-41 in that area. They were both in the 40s. So I didn't get to see a lot of the middle of it, but I do know that Oklahoma just looked really erratic with Spencer Rattler out there at first. Like there was a couple of scoring drives and then he had that interception. I believe he had a fumble as well. And it didn't look like they were, the Oklahoma team that they were supposed to be. And Texas was just, with Casey Thompson, we've talked about it before, how Texas just looks like a completely different team. And Dave Pasch was talking about it. Like Hudson Card's a good player, but they're just different with Casey Thompson. And we saw that in the first half and then a little bit in that third quarter. And then they just completely fell apart. And Oklahoma scored 6 times on the last 7 possessions. And they just looked unstoppable with Caleb Williams at the helm. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think, Oklahoma's definitely got some momentum now heading into the rest of the Big 12 season with a win like this.
So that's what I was going to say. So I did watch the first half of it, and it just honestly looked like it was going to be a beatdown. It looked like that the only reason why the river was going to be red was because of Oklahoma's blood. That's just honestly the way it was, because there was no way that Oklahoma should have won this game. Unfortunately, once you saw Caleb Williams come into the game and he had that huge run for the score, it just seemed to have turned on a different switch for Oklahoma. And we knew about Texas, okay? We knew that Casey Thompson, phenomenal player, Bijan Robinson, probably the best running back in the game, and honestly, probably a Heisman Trophy leader at this point. And we know about the receivers, Xavier Worthy, true freshman, 75-yard touchdown to open the game. This Texas offense was unstoppable. They were not the reason why they lost this game. The Texas defense was porous in the second half. They were actually electric in the first quarter. Second half, it was just nowhere to be found. And Caleb Williams, we're going to discuss in a little bit here. He's looked like he's going to be the guy, Lauren, it looked like you had a lot to say about this, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you then.
Yeah, I sat there getting ready for this the A&M's game, prepping, watching OU Texas. OU always has a bunch of Texas players on it, so it's always fun to watch them. But it was one of those that starts out the first half, and I'm like, I'll stay in the other room and have the sound on, horns down, that type of thing. But towards second half, kind of start creeping over there, watch the TV, and you're like, oh, Caleb Williams really shifted that momentum. And Caleb's played in a couple games this season, has looked pretty solid. And so, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how that momentum will end up switching for that OU team, because that they're a hungry team. And based on some social media reactions of those Sooners, the Jimbo Fisher said we ain't done yet. And I think that applies to OU as well, their feelings after that game.
Emily, I know you were at a different game that was going on at the same time. So do you have any quick input on this? Any certain words that you have for your future SEC rivals?
For SEC rivals, I'm excited for the Ole Miss Texas A&M game, but I am excited for the game that's coming up this weekend that I'm going to, the Ole Miss Tennessee game. It's sold out. It's checkerboard, and it's the first time Lane Kiffin will be back since he left coaching there in 7 years, like over 7 years. So it's going to be a big game this weekend also. But I didn't get to see much of anything else since I was at an 11 a.m. kickoff game.
So we need to go into a quick discussion here. I think this job is Caleb Williams' job to lose in terms of Oklahoma's quarterback. When he scored the touchdown for Oklahoma, it seemed like Spencer Rattler was the only person who did not congratulate Caleb Williams after Oklahoma finished out the win with the last second win. It seemed like he was the only person that was not on the field for Oklahoma. In fact, there was even, video that while the Oklahoma team was still celebrating on the field, he was already heading back to the locker room. So I feel like anybody that has known about Spencer Rattler since his high school days, they know that not exactly a team player. And I think that's kind of what we're expecting. And I think we have essentially got our new quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes for 2022. That's what I see in Spencer Rattler at this point, especially with De'Ara King being out for the season. Does anybody got any quick word in terms of like how much of a despicable human being Spencer Rattler is?
I mean, if you're not going to show up for your team like you just said, you might as well be on the bench the whole time. There's no point.
Yeah, and I honestly like watching that game and watching the highlights back on SportsCenter that night. It just seemed like everybody on Oklahoma was better when Caleb Williams, like there was just more energy. Everybody just seemed more explosive, like more into the game, more willing.
The running game was established.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, the receivers, like Marvin Mims, a lot of us had him on our top 5 receivers in the country, which talent-wise, I think he's definitely up there, but we just haven't really seen that this year because of, Spencer Rattler being up and down and all over the place. So I definitely think that Caleb Williams for now, I mean, from the limited amount that we've seen, kind of makes, everybody better right now.
Cool. So let's go into Texas a little bit because they're not walking out of this unscathed. Okay, we're not gonna go through this without having the opportunity to trash on Texas right now. Texas, what the hell? Steve Sarkisian, what the hell? What do you tell your guys at halftime for that to happen? Last week, 2 weeks ago, no, it was last week. I was on here with Brian and Andrew W., and we were talking about how Oklahoma was looking like the most vulnerable undefeated team in the country, how Texas finally found their stride after losing to Arkansas, beating Rice, and beating Texas Tech, beating TCU. They finally have their stride, and they pull this off. I don't ever want to hear the word that's spelled out by BACK to describe Texas ever again. I don't give a damn if Sam Ehlinger has another year of eligibility so where he could leave the NFL and come back, go to another Sugar Bowl, and open up the mouth on the podium again. Texas is never going to be BACK again until I see proof of it. Not while they're in the SEC, not while they're still in the Big 12. I have zero reason to ever have faith in TEXAS, Texas. I don't know why I spelled it out ever again. And truthfully, I don't know why anybody should at this point. Unless you can beat Oklahoma on a consistent basis, unless you can beat TCU on a consistent basis, which they haven't done, I'm going to Austin this weekend to see them play Oklahoma State. Even if they were to beat Oklahoma State, I don't feel like I should have any reason whatsoever to invest in this team mentally, to have any future aspirations for them. There's every time that Texas gives people hope, I don't know why they're still ranked. They're ranked 25th in the country. I don't know why they're still ranked. I just don't know why we should even buy hype into them anymore.
Something I think super important about Texas is you look at them, and this is football Lauren, not anti-Texas Lauren. It's that you look at the roster and it's stacked. Someone like Bijan Robinson, Overshown, like that team deserves more than they're doing. And you look at that line of, is it the team? Is it the coaches? Like, what's going on? I know they've got the donors funding things. Like, hello, we got that over here too. Like, there should be more happening over there that is. And I think that's what's really awkward and weird for Sark in his first year. Incredible suit, by the way, to start the game. I was watching College Game Day and I was like, I'm not going to lie. I'll never compliment someone that wears burnt orange, but like, sir, you look really good. And you looked really good. Yourself. Why don't your boys look good? And I think that's something that's super important to note about that team is that it doesn't make sense where the confusion is. Like, why can't you finish the game? So, yeah, that's my rant about the opposers down the road.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think, we talked about it really early in the year, how, they have overshown and they have some talent on the defense, but there's so many unproven spots on that defense. And I think that's really shown. They've given up, I think it's like over 430 yards a game. Now, obviously the Oklahoma, you're going to give up a lot of yards there. And when you play in the Big 12, same thing goes, but that defense just hasn't really looked consistent. Like we've talked about, at sometimes they kind of look like, okay, maybe they could really, turn the tide here in this Red River game. And then it completely fell through. So I don't think their offense is good enough to keep carrying them. I don't think Casey Thompson is, going to be the guy to keep them, undefeated. Like some people think they could go. I don't think their schedule allows for that. And I don't think their defense will either.
I mean, I don't think Texas is in any sense going to be back for a long time until you get a new coach and you have a new set of administration for them. Like, I think you need to go ahead and clean house and go ahead and try to rebuild.
Yeah, it's a really tough situation because, like, Sarkisian obviously is in his first year and they've got the SEC, all that stuff going to happen. And if they're going to be back, then that's going to have to start turning around before they go to the SEC, because it's not going to be rainbows and unicorns when they get to the SEC. And recruiting is only going to get tougher because, they already have a lot of guys on Texas that they're not getting. They're going west, they're going east. Like they can't get everybody in Texas like they used to in 2007 in the Vince Young days. So if they're going to have to, if they're going to compete for a Big 12 title or anything more, a New Year's Six Bowl, it's going to have to be before they get to the SEC, because it sure ain't going to happen.
Something that I did want to bring up real quick, because you did bring up a really good point in terms of recruiting. Recruiting in the state of Texas right now is nowhere near what it was 15 years ago. It's a completely different landscape. NIL has a huge deal to do with this also. The reason why I say this is because when I was growing up here in Texas in the mid-2000s, Texas Longhorns was seen as the pinnacle in terms of where you wanted to go to play your college football. Now it feels like whenever a high-touted prospect here in the state of Texas has an opportunity to go out of state, they will almost take it. Texas doesn't have the same recruiting presence, reputation that they did 15 years ago. And I can name a couple of players right off the bat. Kelvin Banks, your guy, left tackle coming out of Summer Creek High School. Is he staying within the state of Texas? No, he's going to Oregon. All right. That's one of the easier things to say. Denver Harris, he's a cornerback here in Houston for North Shore High School. He's looking at either Alabama or Texas. And from my understanding, he's leaning more towards Alabama than he is going towards Texas. Connor Weigman, future A&M guy, he committed. I saw him play a couple times. Love the dude. He committed to A&M about 2 weeks after they sent him the offer. He threw Texas under the radar. Well, under the rug, I think was the better term to describe it. And honestly, it just keeps on going more. Quinn Ewers, who, we already know, ditched Austin. He played his high school football in Austin. That is 15 years ago. If you lived in Austin, playing for your hometown team was the dream. No, he goes to Ohio State. And honestly, the more that I look into the state of Texas and their recruiting background, Texas honestly needs to step up. I don't even know if they're a top 4, top 3 hotbed for recruiting prospects. I think if you're A&M, I think they're a better prospect. I think in some cases, okay, well, maybe that's a little harsh, but people are going to choose TCU over Texas at times. I feel like if you look at what SMU is building right now, they may be more appealing than Texas right now. Because if you commit to SMU over Texas, Preston Stone did. Preston Stone had an offer from every school in Texas, and he chose to go to SMU over Texas. Texas right now does not have the appeal that they used to have. And honestly, when I go there this weekend, that's what I really want to figure it out.
It sounds like we're talking about USC at the same time. Like I feel like almost everything we're talking about could be, could relate to USC as well. I just feel like since that championship game, since that Rose Bowl, USC is just not what they were either. And obviously they had the Rose Bowl and against Penn State. I think that was probably the last time they were up there. But yeah, I mean, Texas, they still have a really good class in 2022 that's going to be coming in. Not a lot of 5-star guys, but a lot of quality players. But like you said, I mean, they're losing guys to everybody. Hell, they're losing guys to Oklahoma too, which if you're the recruiting staff at Texas, that's the last program that you want to lose. I think you'd rather lose guys to other, Texas Tech and TCU and SMU and Houston rather than you would Oklahoma.
I do want to say this real quick. I'm looking at the 24/7 sports recruiting board right now. Just some notable names right now. Denver Harris, like I said, the cornerback for North Shore. He's deciding between Alabama and Texas. Kelvin Banks, like I said, he's going to Oregon. Cade Klubnik, who is the Westlake quarterback in Austin, another Austin quarterback. He's going to, like I said, did I already say he's going to Clemson? Well, he's going to Clemson. Terrence Brooks, cornerback for Little Elm, going to Ohio State. Caleb Burton, Lake Travis, also Austin, going to Ohio State. Notice how many times I'm saying Austin on here, and they're not going to their hometown team, to UT Austin. There needs to be a straight up explanation as to why the Texas Longhorns cannot bring in homegrown talent. So I mentioned Ohio State quite a bit already, and I think that's kind of what we're going to transition into next. Another big game that happened over the weekend was Iowa defeating Penn State at home 23-20, essentially boosted Iowa to number 2. Also, thanks in part to another game that we're going into later bit. But let's go on to the Big Ten right now. AP poll just came out, and I'm looking at it right now. The AP poll has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the Big Ten. All of them undefeated except for Ohio State, but that Ohio State loss was out of conference to Oregon. They can still easily run the table and go to the Big Ten championship. The only thing that they got in their way is Penn State. And I think I accidentally said that Penn State was undefeated because they're not. But Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, all undefeated. There's been a hot conversation in terms of playoff, in terms of SEC could get 2 playoff teams, Georgia and Alabama. Alabama loses one more, yeah, they're not getting in. But if Alabama was to win out, which we've seen before, beat Georgia in the SEC title game, let's be honest, they're going to be in. And if Georgia's one loss was to Alabama in the SEC title game, they're going to be in. Well, let's look at the Big Ten. Let's say Iowa goes undefeated. They beat Penn State. They beat Iowa State early in the year, who were highly touted. They beat Indiana, so that's 2 ranked wins right there. They beat Penn State, making that their 3rd. What if Iowa was to go undefeated the rest of the way, lose to Ohio State? Do they get out of the playoff spot despite those quality wins? And how do they lose to Ohio State? Michigan, is Michigan for real? Is Michigan State for real? No, they're not. Penn State, I'm not even considering them anymore. So I kind of want to start with Dylan here. How do you view the Big Ten? And what's your outlook for them? Do they have the same reputation in terms of the SEC in terms of like allowing 2? Or is it just a little bit of a different story to you?
I think the Big Ten East is going to beat each other up. I mean, you have 4 teams that are ranked in the top 10 in the Big Ten East by itself, and then Iowa is also in there. I believe the rest of Iowa's opponents are against the Big Ten West, and I honestly don't see them losing any other game this year. I think they play Nebraska in Lincoln, which maybe that could be interesting, but I don't see them losing. The East, yeah, I think if anybody right now is probably going to get out of the East, I think it's Ohio State, the way they're playing. Michigan, I like Michigan. I usually am very low on a Jim Harbaugh team, but I do like what they're doing. They're playing really clean football, really physical football. Michigan State, I think, if Kenneth Walker gets shut down, you're kind of at a loss. I like Jalen Naylor and, those guys and Reed. I just, I haven't seen it consistently. I'm not too high on Michigan State to be in that college football playoff, but I would expect it to be Ohio State and Iowa in December. I would expect Ohio State to probably easily beat Iowa, but I still think Iowa would be a New Year's Six team if they lost, probably a Rose Bowl team if they lost to Ohio State.
All right, Emily, do you have any input on this?
I mean, I think the SEC is a different, when you were talking about like losing one or losing two, I mean, I think it's the exception. Like, I think for them, it's more of the rule. For like SEC teams are known for only being able to lose two if they're ranked that high. But I think it could also be an exception for the other conferences.
Lauren, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that I think Iowa's defense is really for real, and I'm thoroughly impressed by them at all time. Matt Hankins was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, and someone that I've personally watched since high school and such. So watching those, it's definitely incredible, and I definitely think that they need to get some respect, because it looks like they are not getting that as well as they are deserving by some like commentary online.
All right, cool. So let's go into the games that we've attended this weekend. We obviously know two big ones, like I said, two SEC games that we attended. All of them already have let's just say, candidacy for being game of the year. Emily, I know you love being at the Grove. I know you love being at Hemingway. So let's take us a little bit in terms of like how your day went over there in Oxford.
So for me, we had an 11 a.m. kickoff, and which I've never seen the Grove that packed that early. So I was thoroughly impressed. It was also homecoming. This was also our homecoming game. So that added a lot more people being there in the aspect of selling it out. First off, 11 a.m. kickoff, like I said, should be illegal. Always should be. Kiffin, he showed up in a hoodie. I know you all saw the picture. Heisman candidate, or our Heisman candidate, Matt Corral, of course, was all dressed up like normal. The Grove was incredible, packed like normal. It was great. For me, so at Von Hemingway, if you sit on the visitor section, like the visitor side, it's a little cheaper. So I ended up doing that, which is fine, normal. But I was surrounded by Arkansas people. I was the only Ole Miss fan in a huge section of Arkansas people, which was a good time. KJ, their quarterback, their family was right down from me. They were all decked out in their gear, which was great. We were talking to everybody. I felt like I was in a little bit of a cult when they started calling the Hogs. Well, it was a unique situation. But, I mean, just sitting there and being able to experience such a close game, because for me, like LSU and Alabama and Mississippi State are our top games always. And then for Arkansas to come in here and for it to be that close every single quarter, and then the fourth quarter, I was on the end zone side at the very end, right there. And for it to be so close and just seeing everything, and it was unbelievable. Like, it was probably my favorite game I've ever attended. And I've been a season ticket holder for a while at this point. So for me to see such a close game and just to be surrounded by the different fans and being on the visitor side instead of just like with my Ole Miss people like normal, it was a different experience. And I think it was just unbelievable in my opinion.
All right, Lauren, you and I were at a game this past Saturday. You're obviously the home person here, so I'm going to go ahead and let you tell your side of the story before Neutral gives his insight.
All right. Well, the funny thing is something I often cry about is the fact that my future child will never be able to play for Nick Saban. So going into it, my friends were like, you have to pretend you are not Nick Saban's biggest fan. So I did very well. I did DM Christian Saban before the game, though, and to chat about how incredible College Station was. So I pulled up into Kyle about an hour before kickoff, and my seats were so at A&M. The student section is the visitor side of the stadium. So I'm sitting in the end zone, actually, right next to the Bama fans in that end zone in which the team rolls out. And I'm in there an hour before kickoff, sobbing. There are uncontrollable tears. And fun fact: the Tuesday before this game, I told my roommate, she's in the other room, if y'all need her to attest to me, she totally can. I said, Kara, we're about to beat Alabama. And she was like, all right, take off those maroon goggles. Stop being the football boys' biggest fan. We're not beating Alabama. Well, do we know we beat Alabama? And, of course, at Kyle Field, 106,000 people. And it never, people never left. People were like, I'm leaving after this second quarter. No one ever left. It got louder. I have physical pain. So at A&M, we have these 12-man towels we roll around. My shoulder, y'all, is in pain. I feel like I threw the football as well as Zach Calzada did this weekend because holy cow, absurd pain in my shoulder. So to the game itself, kind of weird, you roll in there and you're able to get some points on the board against Alabama and the defense is stopping them in the fourth quarter. And you're like, excuse me, what's happening? Let's just take a moment for Devon A-Chain with that kickoff return because, oh my gosh. And I don't know if y'all saw this, but apparently he ran 22 miles an hour. How do you run 22 miles an hour? I'm still trying to figure it out. I walk on the same campus as this man. What? How? It literally doesn't make sense. Sorry, I got excited there. But you look at Kyle Field and everything, and you're in those last couple minutes, that defense is all and everything. I'm setting the football part aside, Andrew, because my excitement right now, I can't process it. I don't know what just happened in my home. But literally bonkers. Seth Small goes to kick that, and I'm someone who Texas high school football till the day I die. I've seen Seth Small kick a football since his junior year of high school. I'm like, oh, he's got this. I'm sitting there filming. I'm like, all right, Seth, you got it, right? If you haven't yet seen the video of Seth Small's family, please pause this and go watch it and then come right back because you will cry and you will know the emotions I feel inside every time. It was his wife who jumped over there. And let me tell you, that was also me jumping over that. I grabbed my friend's arm and we went running. Come on, we're going. That's what we were doing, y'all. Literally bonkers. Seth Small kicks that. In my head, you could have heard a needle drop. I think that's the phrase in Kyle Field. Apparently there was noise. I rewatched the video. In my head, nothing happening. Nothing. It was just Seth and the ball. That's all I could see. So Seth kicks it and we did it. Jimbo Fisher is the first assistant of Nick Saban's to beat him on his birthday. Jimbo Fisher. Oh my gosh. Literally, what a day. The football players still are losing helmets. No, half the team. Well, it's only two of them. Two of their helmets are still missing. The core boys took them. What? Bonkers. Everyone's on the field. It's $100,000 down the drain, but those donors, they got it. We're not pressed. Yeah, the biggest hugs of those football players. I have never felt so much joy. We're on that field. Zach Calzada is being carried across there. I guess you call it Caden Davis commented his Instagram picture, Kyle Field, as the mosh pit. And that's the only way I can describe it. That's what it was. I was laid on the ground at one point. Some old ag was like, don't die, don't kill her, don't step on her. Literally, I have never seen so many smiles, so many tears. I was crying the whole time. It was quite possibly the greatest moment of my entire life. But yes, that was from my perspective, Andrew. I got excited.
Andrew, can you beat that?
I'll do my best as a neutral, but so, all right. So kind of like I already said, so this was kind of like my day. I feel like an idiot before going this game because I bought my ticket 2 months ago. And that sounds like great. Oh, great. You bought your ticket early, right? Well, when I bought the ticket, it was with the anticipation that this was going to be a top 5 matchup. So I paid $250 for my ticket. Same ticket, a couple days before the kickoff, came down to about 100. Maybe we could find a better seat for even cheaper than that. So it was great. I spent $250. I truthfully don't know what to expect going into this. I don't know what to expect for College Station. All I know was that A&M lost the last 2 games. They came into this game as an 18-point underdog. I just wanted to know was Kyle Field going to be the same that I thought it was going to be 2 months ago? That was the important question I wanted to ask myself. And then even the day after the Mississippi State loss, I saw that there was a line going all across Kyle Field for the ticket for this game. I was like, okay, these dudes are serious. They're serious. They don't give a damn that they just lost 2 in a row. They know that the number one team is coming to town. Therefore, I'm in. I'm not going to sell the ticket. I'm going to go. I'm going to experience this town. Let's go do it. So like I said earlier, I went to go. I was watching the Texas Oklahoma game here at home. Left at halftime, still played the game in my car. Got to College Station around 3 o'clock, 3:30, something like that. So all my friends that are Aggie alumni, all my friends that still go there, they all said the same thing. Go to Northgate, which is essentially the party district of A&M. So I was like, Andrew, we know you like beer. Northgate has lots of beer. Go for it. Those were their exact words. So I go to this place called Dixie Chicken. And people were telling me one of two things. It was either the most overrated place of all time or it's the greatest place of all time. It was overrated. I could go to Chick-fil-A for cheaper, and I think it was better. But that's beside the point. So I go out there. I have some drinks. Check out the backyard. I went to the old Bannon's Irish pub that was across the street. Really nice bar, actually. Had a really nice chocolate stout. It was actually pretty damn good. Really good sweet. But so that was fun. Chit chatted with some people, let them know how they all felt, and they were all optimistic. They're all excited for the game. They all thought that they could beat Alabama. And truthfully, part of me said to myself, they're just disillusioned. That's what I had to think to myself. So went back to my car, just sat down a little bit because it was a little hot outside. Sat down in the car about 30 minutes, decided to head over to Kyle Field. Stopped by Antonio's Pizza by the Slice. That was also in Northgate. One of the worst pizzas I've ever had in my life. I think Lauren's looking at me with disappointment when I said that. Oh, dear God. But so on to Kyle Field. When I got there, this is the first. I've seen Kyle Field from the outside driving past College Station before, but I've never actually stood in front of it. The thing is a Goliath. I've been to AT&T Stadium. I've been to Lambeau Field. I've been to some other really big stadiums. I've been to Lincoln Financial in Philly. I've been to M&T Bank in Baltimore, and Kyle Field makes them all look like Lego bricks. That's the best analogy I got right now. Kyle Field is a mammoth. I don't care what I've seen on television. I don't care the pictures that I've seen on the internet. Kyle Field is much bigger in person than what you would expect to see in real life or what you see in photos. It is massive. 106,000 people can fit into that stadium. The announced attendance for that game was 106,816. No, hold up. 107,816. That's right. Or was it 815? Off by one. I don't care. And I gotta be honest with you, man. I sat at the very top section. That's what I could afford. That was all I could afford at the time when I bought the ticket. So I had to take 7 sets of escalators to get to my section. And once I finally got to my section, I had to get up to the 9th row of that section. I felt sick, man. I was so high up in the air. I thought I was on Mount Kilimanjaro. Okay, I felt like I was a mountain climber at this point. But once I finally sat down, I saw the view, and I was like, "Oh my God!" So I get a sideline seat. I'm looking at the entire stadium. I'm looking at the field, and actually, even though I'm at the very top, the stadium is gorgeous. The field is gorgeous. It's an architectural marvel, as I described in the article that they came out earlier today. I was astonished by how amazing the stadium felt. And so this is still pregame. I still get there about 30 minutes before kickoff. Then the pregame starts. They're having this highlight reel for the centennial anniversary of the 12th man, which was fantastic. They had a prayer, which is awesome. When they played the national anthem, they had the flyover. That was spectacular. Even I was shook when the Jets came over the stadium. And then I don't even know what the name of the songs were that they were singing beforehand. I still don't know. But I had random people that I don't even know. They were grabbing me by my shoulders and they were moving me back and forth, swinging me back and forth. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but this is pretty freaking awesome right now. I don't even know what those people's names were. But it was really awesome, and it was really cool. And throughout the entire night, it seemed like as soon as kickoff hit, that was when the lights went out, the sunset was gone, and it was just pure night football. A&M gets a 17-7 lead to start off the game, and the crowd's popping. It's great. It's electric. Every third down that Alabama's on, I can't even hear myself think. You see white towels being waving all around the stadium. I can see it from the other sideline. I can see people still waving their flags from the other side of the field. And I can't even hear that. See, for the people on YouTube, there she goes. I can't even hear myself think. It is incomprehensible. And you know what? And honestly, the real story of the night is once you go into the third and fourth quarters, A&M is struggling a little bit offensively. Alabama's crawling back in. Fourth quarter, that felt like 3 years. That fourth quarter felt like 3 years. And then when it comes to the last 4 minutes or so, Zach Calzada throws the touchdown pass to Ainias Smith. And everybody's going crazy, man. That was the game-tying touchdown. Everybody was celebrating. And then all of a sudden I noticed that some people were having a concerned look on their face. And I looked down and I was like, okay, what the hell's going on? Somebody turned to me and they're like, hey, do you know who our third string quarterback is? And I'm like, why does that matter? And then I looked down and I was like, shit. Zach Calzada was down. And he was grabbing his leg. He was going into the injury tent or whatever they call it. And it was like, great, we're gonna have to ask for Blake Bost, who was a walk-on, to win this game for the Aggies. Well, Aggies get the ball back after a 3-and-out. Zach Calzada is back on the field. And everybody in my section was like, what the hell? We could have sworn it looked like an ACL tear or something. He completes a pass to Isaiah Spiller. He runs for a first down. He completes another pass to Ainias Smith again. Pass interference gets called on Alabama. The ball gets down to the 12. Isaiah Spiller runs for a short run. Then the field goal gets in. And honestly, when the field goal unit comes out, I'm like, wait a minute, we're already down to 3 seconds? We're already down to 4 seconds? That 3 minutes felt like 20 seconds. And it just tells a lot about what the pace of the game was like. And honestly, Dylan, I texted you. I told you, if A&M's going to win this game, I'm going to get down to the field level and run onto the field. I was so into the moment, I didn't even remember to do that. And then when I saw the kick, I don't think I heard a noise around me. It honestly felt that way. And there's probably loads of noise, but I probably didn't even notice it. And then when the kick was good, I felt like that there was a second that went by for like 500 years. And then the crowd, they're rushing the field. And I was in awe. I was like, how the hell did I not get down to the field? This was like my one chance, man. In 2016, I missed out on Houston upsetting Louisville. I decided not to go to that game. Well, guess what? I went to this game and I forgot to run down to the field, man. I'm not even a fan of these guys, and I could have ran onto the field, man. And it was just honestly spectacular. Once again, shortly after the game was over, I got dudes grabbing me by my shoulder. They're doing me the whole wave thing again. I still don't know what that thing is called. Still awesome though. And then as I'm leaving the stadium, guess what? Everybody is singing. Everybody's singing Aggie songs. I don't even know what the lyrics were. I was just nodding my head and pretend like, hey, it was good stuff. That was it. So I had to go back to my car, which is up by Northgate. And guess what? Lo and behold, by the time I got to Northgate, it's already going insane. My boss told me that if A&M was going to win this game, you better watch out on University Drive because you're probably going to find beer bottles broken all over the street. I think I got out just in time, to be honest with you. But that was kind of like what my experience with A&M was like. And like I said in the article, what I experienced that day was honestly so great. I almost want to quit all my other trips. I'll be honest with you, man. I don't want to go to Austin this weekend. I really don't. I don't want to go to my home state of Wisconsin next month. I don't even want to go to Baton Rouge next month either, which is the week after Wisconsin. What can you do? I just want to, what can either of these college towns do right now? What can they pitch to me to where they can tell me, yes, this makes our college town better, have a better atmosphere than A&M on game day? I just want to know what can these guys offer me? Because if you ask me right now, best college town you ever been to, and I've been to Madison, I've been to Austin. I don't consider Houston a college town, but hey, I went to school down here. I've been to college towns. This felt like a proper cultural college town to where the college actually orientates around the culture of the town. I don't even think that made sense, but I think you guys get my drift here. That's truthfully what A&M was like. I honestly don't even think it was real. Dylan, I'm going to let you host from now on.
I did want to pop on really quick and say, this is why everyone calls A&M a cult. You just accidentally get put inside of it and you're like, this is the most incredible thing of my entire life. In a lot of the A&M school songs, it says there's a spirit can never be told, and like, ta-da, like just shocked. I think that like really proves that really well with Andrew's shock of like, what the heck is College Station? Because there's something about it.
And I know that is true, but be careful with the way that you talk about it, because now you got me feeling like I'm going to a Pentecostal church, all right? And I've already done that once, and I don't want to go through that again. Okay, so anyways, yeah, that's kind of just essentially what my time at College Station was, and it was a cult. You know, I don't think it was like a Mormonism type of cult, but it was a good type of cult. All right, if A&M, like if country music and if square dancing is part of your culture, get your ass to a game at A&M. If you want a loud atmosphere, if you want to know what 12th man really is, because Lauren can sit here and tell you what 12th man actually is, but you actually don't know what it really is until you go out and feel it yourself. And that's honestly what it felt like. Oh, fun fact, I almost got into a fight with an Alabama fan. And it wasn't even my fault either, man. All right. This dude was talking smack the whole time. I had to pretend to be a fan for the night, and I kept yelling scoreboard at this dude. All right. They were up like 38 to, I don't even remember what it was, but they were up by like 10 points. And I was like, I had to tell this, hey, dude, scoreboard. Tell me what the scoreboard said. Oh, okay. 38-28. All right, good. Now sit down and shut up. Dude was like only like 5'7", though. I think I could have taken him.
Man, Andrew's trying to get us canceled today. Oh, man. I hope we are not trying to get BYU guys on the show, because that's going to be a ride.
Well, I hope we do.
Well, if we do, you're not going to be on there, because I don't really trust that to go well. But honestly, like we could have just had a show with Andrew and Lauren just talking about the game, and Emily talking about the Ole Miss game. I didn't go to a game this weekend. I don't have anything to contribute there. I'm going to one next weekend now. I'll be at Autzen for Cal against Oregon for that slugfest. That game's going to be boring as hell, but I'm going to be up in the press box with my binoculars.
Are you going to fight? Are you going to fight Aggie?
I'm not going to say publicly. I'll keep that off the record for now.
How tall are you? Are you like 6'1" or what are you?
I'm 6'3".
6'3". Okay, so you're 6'3". You told us before that Aggie was like 5'7", apparently.
Yeah.
What do you think Aggie's weight is right now?
I don't know. I have no idea.
It looks like a pretty heavy suit.
It probably is, yeah. And he's just he has the most punchable face in all of college sports of any mascot I've ever seen. But I digress. Let's finish up the show with what we had planned to talk about. I know, Andrew, you threw it off to me unexpectedly, so I'll kick it off here.
I'm on a high, man.
I know. We all are.
I wish I was in Colorado right now.
Ask Lauren, do you really want to be in Colorado?
Boulder fans suck. That's all I have to say. I've never been bullied so much by people my own age, and I stand by that. And if they want to start a fight with me in the comments, do it, because I stand by that. I've never been cussed at by so many people who I was taller than. I'm like, I'm 5'7", boy. Like, sit down.
Hold on. Bullied by Colorado people or?
No, Colorado Boulder fans. Okay. I hate them. That's all I have to say.
All right, fine. Then Washington State. Well, you live in Washington State, man. Is Washington State is it a fun place? I mean,
No, it's not.
Okay, cool.
That's all I have to say about that. Washington State fans are actually cool though, but I digress.
What
Husky
about Washington Husky fans? They suck.
No.
It's all
I've met
rich
some-
people. It's all rich people, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So they're like Rice.
I gotta digress here because this show's never gonna end if we let Andrew talk about Rice. So we want to kick it off with our segment about buying and selling that we were talking about just real quick. We talked about Oklahoma a little bit, so I kind of want to kick off with a little roundtable. Emily, let's start with you. If Caleb Williams is the guy for Oklahoma, are you buying or selling on Oklahoma?
I would say yes. I mean, after his performance, just go ahead and put him in. He would be my first choice.
Lauren, how about you?
I'm very hesitant on this answer. I watched Caleb Williams all through picking OU. Actually, he was pretty heavy LSU lean. So throughout the late 11, everything, keeping up with that. I'm kind of leaning towards selling. That Oklahoma State rivalry goes strong in something. And I'm someone who's Team Oklahoma on this one, but I'm going to go with selling.
All right, Andrew, where are you going with this one?
Selling big time on Oklahoma. I don't give a damn who's quarterback. I mean, they've had 2 Heisman Trophy winners play quarterback, and at the end of the day, guess what? The defense still cannot win the game for them. All right, at the end of the day, you still have to play defense, and guys, you still allowed the defense is still not impressive to me. I think the guys on College Game Day saying that they were like the 124th best team in terms of like third down conversion on defense. Yeah, I'm going to be selling big time in Oklahoma. And Dylan, how about you take a seat? Because I'm a little bit more relaxed now, so I think I could take it over from here now. So anyways, let's go to this next team right here, man. Kentucky undefeated right now. They got Georgia this weekend. Emily, let's go with you. You're very familiar with Kentucky. I'm going to go ahead and make that assumption. So buying or selling Kentucky?
I'm hesitant, but I would say buying. But at the same time, like, they actually have a legit quarterback for once, which makes me lean towards buying. But I also feel like they've just gotten really lucky, and I feel like they're going to get killed this weekend. And I think they're finally going to get taken off their high horse. So I'm not fully into the whole buying Kentucky yet.
Lauren, let's go over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm that as well. You look at their wins, and, like, I'm all for supporting a team that never does well, but, like, I'm a little sketched out. Like, you look at their schedule, y'all, and, like, okay, your SEC games, South Carolina, Missouri, Florida, LSU. Like, Florida's the only respectable one on there. Florida's struggle busing right now. I would not want to have to claim Florida as an incredible victory. So Georgia might put the little whammy on them this weekend, and if they don't, I'll eat my words just fine. Congratulations, Blue, like all the things, but yeah, I'm selling.
Dylan, let's go to you.
Well, you skipped me for Oklahoma, so I'm going to go selling on Oklahoma as well. And I'll also sell on Kentucky. Like you said, their wins, you're talking about Louisiana, Monroe, Missouri, Chattanooga, South Carolina, Florida, LSU. Florida win was good. LSU win, they won handedly. I don't think LSU is very good. I think they're probably going to get shut out by Georgia, and I feel like they could lose to Mississippi State. That's just how weird the SEC is. And then I could even down the line, if Louisville gets better, maybe that game is interesting. I don't know, but I guess they're lucky that they don't play, like Arkansas and Ole Miss and Alabama. They could still be a pretty good team, but I just don't think that, they're as good as the record says right now.
My main thing with Kentucky is I really want to emphasize on their win over Missouri. It was only a 1-score win over Missouri. And guess what? Missouri has the worst rush defense in the country, and that's a straight up fact. That's something that's got to be noticed. It's really hard to buy stock into an LSU win right now. It's really hard to buy stock against a win with a win against Florida. Even though Florida did only lose to Alabama, only 2 points, there's really nothing about Florida that can honestly say, like, oh my God, I actually like them. Because truthfully, I don't like Florida. And a loss if you get as brutal of a loss as I think that they can get in Athens against that scary Georgia defense, that could honestly kill every bit of confidence in that Kentucky team. I like Levi as a quarterback. I really do. And you know what? Chris Rodriguez is a very good running back, but I just do not think that they are the talent that they need to in terms of, you know, taking that step in terms of being like a New Year's Six type team, which I do not think they are.
What is
I think
Georgia averaging? Like, aren't they giving up like 4 points a game or something like that?
it's stupid, man. Like I think a kindergarten could probably count that. Okay, that's probably a little insulting, but we're gonna go past that. But I think they're gonna lose to Georgia. That's almost guarantee right there. Then they have the bye. Then they have to go to Starkville against Mississippi State. I am never counting out Mississippi State, especially as long as Will Rogers is quarterback for them. And you know what? We also have got to see how. Sorry, Lauren. So we also got to see just how good this Tennessee team is. Yes, Emily. We hope that you embarrass Tennessee so bad to the point where they will never want to play football again. And I'm sure watching and I'm sure you hate the terrible orange that they wear, the terrible shade, the checkerboard, the super corny, the overall stripes that they. I don't even want to go into
and
it,
I'm
man.
sitting in a white section this weekend.
Oh,
I'm going
lovely.
to be proudly wearing blue. Good times.
So yeah, Kentucky selling. Wake Forest, Dylan. Let's go over to you, man. How do you feel about Wake Forest buying or selling?
This is a weird one because the ACC is just kind of like a roller coaster right now. Like nobody really looks that convincing to be like a New Year's Six team. I know Doug was, singing about Boston College earlier in the year, and that obviously didn't work out. And Clemson is garbage, which I enjoy. I don't know about Wake Forest. I think they're a really good offensive team. I just think once their schedule gets tougher, which it doesn't get that much tougher, then maybe, they kind of fall off. I don't know. I don't think they've been 6-0 since like the 40s or something like that. I'm impressed with what they've done. I thought the Syracuse win was better than some people thought. I like Syracuse. I like Sean Tucker, one of the best running backs so far this year. I'm going to go buying right now. I think they could pull off some upsets later in the year, if you can call them upsets. Yeah, I don't know about a top 15 team in terms of like talent, but the way they've put it together, I like this team right now.
Lauren, let's go over to you.
I'm also going to be buying in. Sam Hartman's one of those super interesting quarterbacks to me. If y'all watched him on QB1, like we need to talk about Sam Hartman's senior year of college, high school more. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and buy in, especially with the way the ACC is right now. I mean, they've got a chance. Like they've got a quarterback with what I think to be a good strong head on his shoulders. So like, why not? Go ahead, go off.
For me, I'm gonna go ahead and just say bye. I mean, anything could happen, and like everybody said, they're the best looking in the ACC right now, and that's not saying much. But at the same time, I mean, I think it's only your only option.
So I do agree with the whole. I am going to say bye here for Wake Forest, but it's not because I actually like the team, because I will know Sam Hartman really is a really good quarterback. It's just really hard to buy into really any ACC team right now, because imagine standing here preseason and you told me that Wake Forest was going to be the best looking ACC team in the conference, ahead of a Sam Howell-led North Carolina, ahead of a Clemson, which, let's just be honest, has been a dynasty over the last couple of years. And you mean tell me that Wake Forest is the best? Well, let's just look at the rest of Wake Forest's schedule. You beat Virginia, which is actually a pretty good win when you consider just how good Brendan Armstrong can sling it. You kept it close against Louisville, and you kept it really close against Syracuse. We go from a 10-point win to a 3-point win to a 3-point win. Those 3-point wins are not really particularly against good teams. But in terms of rest of Wake Forest schedule, I really cannot pinpoint more than 2 losses, conference losses at most. The game where they have to go to West Point at Army, which is in 2 weeks, a week from this weekend, actually. Don't know how you want to phrase that. I think they're going to lose to Army, because I think Army is one of the most underrated teams in the country right now. I really like the wishbone that they run. They're going to beat Duke. I think they're going to beat North Carolina, just because that North Carolina defense is just absolute stupid right now, and I do not mean that in a good way whatsoever. NC State at home in Wake Forest. We'll see how that game goes. I really like NC State's defense. We'll see how the offense looks by then. Clemson, they can beat Clemson. Straightforward. And then we'll see how they do against Boston College. I do not see Wake losing more than 2 conference games up to that point. All right, let's go to one that I'm very passionate about, but I'll gladly go last. Dylan, let's go on to SMU.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually looking into SMU because I had them, I think, 17th on my rankings this week. And now that I'm looking back at it, I'm like, I don't know if I should have had them that high because their wins are against teams that are combined 11 and 20. I think the TCU win was really, really good, but they've kept it close against some teams like Louisiana Tech. I thought they should have blew them out. I mean, obviously, they have an unbelievable amount of talent on offense. You're talking about Tanner Mordecai, who's been a machine this year, Rashee Rice, Reggie Roberson, USS Bentley at the running back. I mean, they've been just really, really good offensively. I just think that their schedule is going to get tough in that patch. I think they play Cincinnati, they play Houston, UCF. I think they play Memphis as well. So I feel like they're going to kind of fall under. So right now I'm going to go sell.
Lauren, let's go over to you.
I'm going to go ahead and buy in. SMU's kind of a fun program. I've got some friends that play up there, and honestly, I'm impressed. It's, you're looking at that team, and a couple of their games have been fairly close, probably closer than they would hope them to be. But I think whenever you're used to playing in that, sometimes it kind of helps push that momentum. So when they get into Cincinnati and other schools like that, I mean, they're right high with it. They're finally getting a little bit of recognition by nationally. I have a friend who writes for them, and they deserve, a bit more credit than that 23 ranking in the AP poll. So I'm looking forward to it. It's talented offense, incredible line, all that, incredible coaching. They're definitely cooking with something over there. That skillet probably they won from TCU. LOL.
I think for me, I'm going to buy. I mean, they've been really consistent on offensively, but I think they're going to have some tough games. I mean, they're going to play Cincinnati and they're going to play Memphis. Memphis is always fairly good, which I know a lot of people don't think that, but going back and looking at them, like they've been more consistent over the years. So I think that'll be a pretty interesting game. And along with Cincinnati, I mean, stranger things have happened, so I'm not going to say completely sell, but right now, buy for me.
So for those who know me, I am absolutely loving the Texas teams this year. I really am. So that's why I'm going to have to buy into SMU. I really do. I have spoken about this SMU offense since the preseason. I didn't care who was starting at SMU, either Tanner Mordecai or Preston Stone, whoever it was, they were going to absolutely light it up. And so far, Tanner Mordecai has. Rashee Rice, he's an animal. Reggie Roberson has been spectacular. There's really nothing about this SMU team where I'm like, on the offensive side, where I'm just like, that's a weakness. I mean, even their tight end, Grant Calcaterra, Oklahoma transfer, he's probably been the top 10 at worst tight end in the country right now. He's been fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and buy an SMU. And in terms of the rest of the schedule, you know what? They got Tulane. Tulane, let's just be honest, not very good. I saw them against Houston last week. It was disappointing. It's pretty glorious, too, at the same time. But they do have to come to the third ward. Guys, I know what I just said about Kyle Field, and I know what I just said about A&M and Alabama. I am like on the same level of excitement for this SMU Houston game because I think Houston is really going under the radar, especially with their defense. Clayton Tune is really picking it up at the quarterback position. This could be a slip-up game for SMU, or this could just be a fraudulent exposure for Houston. And if it's the latter, then we're going to have to look at SMU and Cincinnati later in the year. Because for all we know, if these two teams remain undefeated up to November 20th, these two teams could meet twice in this game and in the AAC championship game. I am buying in on SMU, and I am a firm believer that they can score on any defense in the country. And let's go lastly, another team that I feel like we have much love for. But the AP they got a blackmail on this team. It's pissing me off, man. UTSA. I love Sincere McCormick. I love Frank Harris. I love the city of San Antonio. I hate the Alamo Dome. Tear it down. Build a new stand for UTSA, but I'm buying in on this UTSA team because I love what they bring to the table. To me, they're the best team in the Conference USA right now. Frank Harris is slinging the ball. Sincere McCormick can run on almost any defense in the country. UTSA, I am buying. They're gonna kill Rice this weekend, which I hope to be there. I'm pumped for this UTSA team. I think they can make a great run. They'll probably lose one more game rest of the way, but I think they're going to win their bowl game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and join the Transfer Portal fan club. I'm gonna buy in on UTSA completely. I've never really been, for the first chunk of my fandom as a college football fan, I wasn't ever really into the Conference USA. It wasn't really until the last couple of years that I was into it. I've never been so excited for a UTSA and a UTEP matchup. That game's going to be a lot of fun. That's on November 6th in El Paso. UTSA just does it all. And I think that win over Memphis was extremely impressive. I did not think they were going to pull that game off. I thought Memphis had just too much firepower, too much experience, and UTSA looked like the better team. And against Western Kentucky, which Liam will tell you all about, they're underrated, and Bailey Zappi is the best quarterback in the country and whatever he thinks, which, I'm not saying isn't valid, but, he kind of hypes him up more than some people will. But that was an impressive win too, on the road, outscoring him in a shootout. They're 6-0. I mean, I feel like the only game I could see them realistically losing is that UTEP game. And even then, I could definitely, with the way they've played so far, I think I could see them winning that too. I think they'd be favored. So I'm going to say you.
I'm going to also say buy-in. I think they've had an impressive season so far. They've had some really good wins. They've been consistent. I'm going to say buy-in.
Yeah, I don't know. I really struggle with this one kind of. I think I'm going to go ahead and just say buy-in. Honestly, the win over Memphis is really what sold me on that one. Memphis is led by Texas high school football boy, Seth Hennigan. So seeing that kind of, able to rally around that one and get that win was really impressive to me. And they're probably sweeping under the rug because they're the University of Texas at San Antonio. Sometimes those schools kind of just like, the bar, and everyone's like, wait, where are they? And they're just like, they're at the bar, but no one sees them. So yeah, UTSA, I think they'll end up probably winning out, honestly. They're an impressive program, and, they have great momentum in Texas high school football that people don't recognize and stuff. So yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry, I'll just say that once UTSA goes undefeated and they've got this hype and love, I will hope people come back to the content that we've had. We've talked about on the pod. We've written about them because we've been all over them all season long, and the AP needs to show them some love. I think we have them like in the top 20, like top 22 in our rankings. So
we have them 18.
Come back to us. 18? Damn.
Okay. Yeah. Let me look it up right here. Do we have them at 18? Yeah, we have them at 18. So anyways, one thing I do want to mention with UTSA real quick, here are their best wins of the season. They opened up their season on the road at Illinois. Look, I know Illinois is Illinois. I know Illinois just got shut up by Wisconsin. Just had to throw that in there. But you beat a Power 5 team on the road to open up the season. That is crucial. You beat Memphis on the road. Memphis just played a Cotton Bowl only a couple years ago. They're not a joke, okay? And you beat Western Kentucky, who, like, I may not be as high on Bailey Zappi as Liam is. All right, they could go 5-7 to finish out the year, and he'll talk about how they are the most underrated 5-7 team in the history of college football. I don't give a damn. But that Western Kentucky win on the road was crucial for the reputation. How that was not enough for them to get into the top 25, disrespectful. They didn't even get a single vote. If you actually look at the AP and you look at their other receiving votes, they did not receive a single vote. What are we doing here with UTSA? Like, the disrespect is just massive. All right. And I, for one, I'm sick of it. I think we need to have a protest.
This week, I think they got 22 votes. So there was a little bit there. But
that ain't enough.
Clemson had like 3 times the amount of votes as them, which makes no sense to me.
So anyways, we spoke on UTSA. We've spoken on our game day experiences. Kyle Field was spectacular. I know that Emily's going to heavily recommend a game at the Grove at
absolutely
Hemingway.
Hemingway, yes.
I'll be here next week to talk about my experiences in Austin, Texas. Last time I was in Austin, I had to tell a guy no in the middle of HEB twice, and I had to run away from that store. So hopefully I can get some positive redemption on the way back. So anyways, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Transfer Portal Podcast, and we will catch you guys next week.